Hello there, peeps. Celine here, and welcome back to Reading Elyasia. I know the voice to chat mispronounces it. It's fine. I don't really care. Uh, this is the one shot called Forgotten History. It takes place 100 years before, 100 years in the past before Arc Zero, 600 years into the past of Arc 1, which Arc 1 takes place in the present time. Everything before Arc 1 is in the past. Everything after Arc 1 is in the future. Alright.
Way back in the distant past, when the realm was still in its infancy and the landscape was largely untouched, there existed a vast expanse of lush greenery and open fields. The land was so pristine that it was devoid of any towns, villages, or cities. It was a blank canvas waiting to be painted with the stories of its inhabitants. Yet, the question lingered in the air: how did this realm come into existence? No history book provided an answer, and, perhaps more importantly, no one seemed to care enough to seek the truth. Forgotten History.
Okay.
Before Arc 00 written, Salia 1, way back in the distant past,
There we go.
when the realm was still in its infancy and the landscape was largely untouched, there existed a vast expanse of lush greenery and open fields. The land was so pristine that it was devoid of any towns, villages, or cities. It was a blank canvas waiting to be painted with the stories of its inhabitants. Yet, the question lingered in the air: how did this realm come into existence? No history book provided an answer, and, perhaps more importantly, no one seemed to care enough to seek the truth. Just 2 short years after the realm's formation, the borders that had once been a barrier began to open. It was during this time that both demons and humans made their way into the land, each bringing their own intentions and desires. The rulers of the spirit realm had previously kept the dead at bay, ensuring that the borders remained untouched by malevolent forces. However, with the arrival of demons and humans, the situation quickly devolved into chaos. It became a free-for-all, marked by violence, destruction, and unspeakable acts of cruelty. Amidst this turmoil, a singular human emerged, claiming dominion over the realm. This individual had a vision and set about constructing a grand castle in a central area of the land. This human boldly declared the realm's name to be Elyasia. The audacity of this claim was met with silence. No one dared to challenge the authority of this ruler, especially since they had managed to tame 11 S-class demons, formidable beings that commanded respect and fear. As the years rolled on, a staggering 36 years passed without any significant opposition to the royal family. The fear instilled in the hearts of the populace was palpable, and the royal family ruled with an iron fist. However, one fateful day, one of the princesses stumbled upon an unusual egg nestled near the northern mountains. Intrigued, she was granted permission to keep it, unaware of the profound implications this egg would have on the realm. In the days that followed, more peculiar eggs began to appear seemingly out of nowhere. While the general populace accepted this phenomenon without question, a strange energy began to permeate the air, a sensation that only a select few could perceive. Among them was a young girl named Lin, who was born and raised in Elyasia. Lin possessed a unique power that had gone unnoticed by those around her, and she felt an inexplicable connection to the odd eggs that had begun to surface. As Lin transitioned into her teenage years, her understanding of the eggs deepened. It was then that she realized the truth: these were not just any eggs, they were dragon eggs. Unbeknownst to the general populace, the royal family was well aware of the egg's significance and had been secretly attempting to tame any dragon they could find. However, their efforts were met with resistance, as many dragons chose to retreat into hiding, wary of the royal family's intentions. As the dragons vanished from sight, a sense of unease settled over the land. The royal family grew increasingly anxious, fully aware that the mythical beasts posed a threat to their reign. They understood that the dragons needed to be either tamed or eliminated, and thus, they posted signs in every small village, urging anyone who encountered a dragon or had seen one to report it to the guards immediately. This proclamation did not sit well with a few dragons who had the ability to take on human forms. They were incensed by the royal family's blatant disregard for their existence and returned to their clan leaders to discuss a plan of action. The clans began to plot, their anger simmering beneath the surface as they contemplated their next move. Meanwhile, Lin sensed the shifting tides of fate and sought refuge in a secluded forest area. Recognizing her unique connection to the dragons, she approached a few of them and requested their assistance in constructing a tall tower. The dragons, understanding the significance of this young mage, complied with her request. Once the tower was completed, Lin cast a powerful barrier spell over the forest and her tower, creating a sanctuary that kept malevolent souls at bay. Within the confines of her tower, Lin immersed herself in her studies, poring over every book she could find. However, when her supply of books dwindled, she had no choice but to venture into the nearest town or even the human realm to acquire more. Once she secured her reading materials, she kept herself occupied, striving to distract herself from the uncertainties that loomed over the future. As a decade passed, a cataclysmic event unfolded. The royal family residing in the castle was brutally murdered in what could only be described as a massacre. Every member of the staff, every branch of the family tree, and anyone who happened to be staying there at the time met a gruesome fate. The most perplexing aspect of this tragedy was that all of the tamed demons had vanished, leaving only one small boy alive. The circumstances surrounding the massacre were shrouded in mystery, as the boy remained tight-lipped about the events that transpired. As 25 years rolled by, the boy grew into a young man and ascended to the throne, becoming king. Shortly after taking on this monumental responsibility, he married a young girl, and for a time, the castle fell into an eerie silence. The inhabitants of Elyasia were left in the dark, unsure of what was happening within the castle walls. However, Lin, with her heightened senses, could feel that something was amiss. She sensed a disturbance in the air surrounding the castle, and her instincts warned her that it was not a good sign. Lin's fears were confirmed when the queen was discovered dead just outside the castle gates, and the chilling sound of dark, malevolent laughter echoed through the air. The situation escalated further when it was revealed that the queen was, in fact, a half-dragon. This revelation sent shockwaves through the realm, igniting a fierce conflict between the dragons and the royal family. Initially, the war was waged solely against the king, but as time went on and the king's life hung in the balance, the conflict expanded. The northern clans rallied against the southern clans, and the realm was plunged into chaos. The once peaceful lands of Elyasia were now marred by bloodshed and strife, as alliances were forged and broken, and the fate of the realm hung precariously in the balance. In the midst of this turmoil, Lin found herself at a crossroads. With her unique abilities and deep connection to the dragons, she realized that she had a pivotal role to play in the unfolding events. As the war raged on, she began to gather allies, both human and dragon, determined to restore balance to the realm and uncover the truth behind the dark forces that threatened to consume Elyasia. The journey ahead would be fraught with danger, but Lin was resolute in her quest to protect her home and its inhabitants from the encroaching darkness. Back
Well, that was that chapter, or that one shot. I mean, it's not a very long chapter, as you can tell, or one shot. Most of the one shots are not that long. Chapters, however, are actually longer. Well, some are long, some are short. But this one shot is just a lore chapter or a history one shot that gives in depth or adds a bit of back lore of what happened uh to the Ram and why they came up with the solution of there being two rulers instead of just one, and why there has to be a female ruler and not a boy or a male ruler. Although I have not stated it in the story itself, I applied it. Uh, Males can't handle ruling Elyasia. They go mad. And it's actually due to the dragons that aside in Elyasia. Because magic came from the dragons. Supposedly. No one knows where the magic came from. It just came to Elyasia with the dragons. Now, with that said, everyone in Elyasia can use a form of magic, depending on their mana pool. The lower mana they have, the lower chance they can use magic. But everyone can use like a spell here or there, depending on uh if they have the mana in that such. But as far as the royal family goes, up until the prince became king, it was just humans, and humans couldn't handle the magical flow of Elyasia. That's why the king both times did massacres. I'm sleepy. But the first massacre, there's not any true uh information about it, but the way I see it, it's all due to the fact males cannot rule Elyasia just point blank. The pressure is too much for them that they go crazy. And the royal family never thought about there being two rulers. To not risk it, there's two rulers now. Well, at least by this time, or by chapter 3 or 4, there's going to be two rulers, north and south, taking on the responsibility of both regions. However, in future installments, um, No, hold on. I actually wrote this out. That's has nothing to do with it. Uh, was it in chat? No. Lore? No. Story idea. Timeline. I know it's not in the lore books. Maybe I did this. Oh, darn it. Okay. Even though it's not here, these two have two. I know what I put it in. I remember where I put it in. Okay. The northern princess has twins. Twin girls. But the older one is going to be the ruler of the north. The southern princess has a female and a son. The son actually becomes the knight of his sister. Yeah, because that's in arc 3. Because in arc 2, they have I'm pretty sure in arc 2 they're gonna have children later on in the arc. But still, no boy is allowed to rule over Elyasia, north or south. If for a rare chance one sister does not have children, but the other one has two girls, one will go to the other region to rule over it. Because that's what happens to Kira. Her sister Lyra never has kids. Her choice. Although she may have a child later, but it never comes a ruler. Because the northern is taken over by Kira's oldest child, as her youngest child took over the southern region. So, and that's chapter 1. That's arc 1. But anyways, peeps, that's that one shot done. We will tackle chapter 2 in the next video. Leave me a like, comment, subscribe if you haven't. Like always, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.